The keys felt heavier than they should have when the owner placed them in the stranger's palm. Maybe it was because they were no longer symbols of pride or success, just cold metal attached to a failing dream. The restaurant stood silent behind them, its sign unlit, windows dusty, chairs stacked like tired soldiers waiting for a war that would never come. The owner cleared his throat, avoiding the man's eyes. He gave the instructions quickly, as if speed could erase regret. Sleep in the storage room, don't touch the office, don't open to customers, and leave the place exactly as it was. The homeless man nodded without argument, his beard unkempt, coat thin for the season, eyes lowered in practiced humility. When the owner left, the echo of his footsteps lingered longer than expected. The door closed with a dull finality, and for the first time in months the restaurant was not merely abandoned, it was entrusted. The homeless man stood still for several minutes, listening to the building breathe. Pipes clicked softly. Somewhere, a refrigerator hummed, stubbornly alive. He exhaled, slow and deep, as if greeting an old acquaintance. That first night, he did very little. He spread his blanket on the narrow cot in the storage room, washed his hands carefully at the sink, and ate a piece of stale bread he'd brought with him. But before sleeping, he walked the length of the restaurant. His fingers brushed the backs of chairs, the edge of tables, the worn counter where elbows had once rested during laughter-filled evenings. He noticed details others would miss. The uneven leg on table 7, the cracked tile near the kitchen door, the smell of old oil clinging to the walls. He nodded to himself, as though taking silent notes. Morning light slipped through the blinds the next day, and with it came movement. He found a broom in the corner and swept without rush, gathering dust that had settled like resignation. He wiped windows with water and vinegar, polishing them until the street outside looked sharper, closer. In the kitchen, he checked cupboards. There were remnants, bags of rice, dried herbs, canned tomatoes left behind when money ran out. Nothing fancy, but enough. He rolled up his sleeves. Cooking began quietly. No flames leaping high, no dramatic gestures, just steady hands, measured cuts, controlled heat. As food simmered, the smell changed the air. It wasn't loud or extravagant, but it was honest. Warm, familiar. He ate alone at a corner table, posture straight, eyes distant, as if sharing the meal with memories rather than walls. By the third day, neighbors started to notice. The old florist across the street paused while watering her plants, sniffing the air. A delivery driver slowed his bike, glancing at the windows now clear enough to reflect the sky. The homeless man kept to himself, but life was returning in small, undeniable ways. He fixed the loose table leg using a scrap of wood. He reorganized the pantry, labeling jars with neat handwriting. At night, a soft radio played music from another decade, barely audible beyond the door. On the fourth day, he found the ledger in the office, not opened, just stacked with others. He didn't touch it, but the sight of numbers made his jaw tighten briefly. Instead, he sharpened knives, cleaned the grill, scrubbed the floor until his back ached. Work was easier than thinking. Work always had been. By the fifth day, the restaurant no longer felt like a shelter. It felt like a place waiting. He set tables with care, not for guests, but to remind the room of its purpose. He folded napkins the way he once had, precise and symmetrical. For a moment, standing in the center of the dining area, he closed his eyes. The clink of glasses, the murmur of conversation, the rhythm of service, all of it rose vividly, painfully, then faded. He opened his eyes and returned to cleaning. The week passed without drama, without visitors, without permission broken. Yet something fundamental shifted. The building stood straighter. The silence changed from empty to expectant. Even the walls seemed cleaner, lighter, as if relieved to be useful again. On the seventh evening, the homeless man sat by the window, watching dusk settle over the street. He did not know what would happen tomorrow. He only knew that for 7 days he had belonged somewhere again, even if briefly, even if borrowed. When he turned off the lights and locked the door from the inside, the restaurant rested, not abandoned, not sold, but alive in a quiet, waiting way. The owner returned earlier than he had planned, his car stopping across the street as if pulled there by hesitation rather than intention. He stayed inside for a long moment, hands on the steering wheel, staring at the restaurant. Something was wrong, or right, in a way that made him uneasy. The windows were clean. Not just wiped, but clean in the old-fashioned sense, catching the light and reflecting the sky. Inside, the tables were arranged, not stacked. There was a warmth to the place he could sense even from the curb, a quiet order that did not belong to abandonment. He stepped out of the car slowly. The street smelled faintly of cooked food, not grease, not decay, but something subtle and grounding. Bread, maybe, herbs. He told himself it was coincidence, yet his pace quickened. When he unlocked the door, it opened smoothly, without the familiar groan of neglect. The bell above the entrance rang once, clear and bright, and the sound startled him. Inside, the restaurant looked like itself again, and yet not. Nothing extravagant had been added. No new furniture, no fresh paint. But everything had been restored to intention. Chairs were aligned. The counter gleamed softly. Even the air felt different, lighter, as though the building had exhaled. For a moment, the owner simply stood there, overwhelmed by a wave of memory so strong it tightened his chest. This was how it had felt years ago, before debts, before notices, before shame crept into every corner. A movement near the kitchen caught his eye. The homeless man emerged quietly, wiping his hands on a towel. He froze when he saw the owner, then lowered his gaze, already preparing to apologize, to leave, to return the keys. But the owner raised a hand, stopping him. "What did you do?" the owner asked. His voice was not angry, just stunned. "Only what was needed," the man replied softly. "I hope I didn't cross any lines." The owner walked past him, touching the counter, the back of a chair, as if confirming reality through contact. "You were supposed to stay out of the way," he said. "I didn't give permission for this." "No," the man agreed. "You didn't. If you want me gone, I'll leave now." The owner looked at him properly for the first time. Beneath the worn coat and tired beard was a posture that did not belong to the streets. Straight-backed, controlled, a man accustomed to responsibility. The owner frowned, suspicion mixing with curiosity. "Who are you?" he asked. The man hesitated, then shrugged lightly. "Once, I was a chef. And before that, a manager. I lost my way, that's all." The owner laughed once, sharply. "Everyone who fails says that." He walked toward the office, half expecting chaos. Instead, he found it untouched, just as he had ordered, except for one thing. A single sheet of paper lay on the desk. Not taken from the ledgers, but placed beside them. He picked it up. It was a menu. Simple, thoughtful, cost-effective. Dishes built from what the restaurant already had access to, priced carefully, margins calculated in the corner with neat precision. The owner's breath caught. These were not guesses. These were decisions made by someone who understood both food and survival. "You said you didn't touch the office," the owner said quietly. "I didn't," the man replied. "I wrote that in the kitchen." From memory. Silence stretched between them. Outside, a couple of people lingered near the window, peering in, whispering. The owner noticed them and felt a strange tightening in his throat. "There are people waiting," he said. "Yes," the man answered. "They've been coming by all week, asking when you'll reopen." The owner shook his head slowly. "I'm bankrupt. This place is supposed to be dead." The man met his eyes then, steady and unafraid. "Places don't die because of money," he said. "They die because people give up on them." Something broke open in the owner at that. He sank into a chair, suddenly exhausted, the weight of months crashing down on him all at once. "I don't have the strength," he admitted. "Or the money, or the trust." The man nodded. "I don't have anything either," he said. "Except this." He gestured around them. "And the ability to work." Another silence, different this time. Heavier, fuller. The owner looked again at the menu, at the clean room, at the quiet hope standing in front of him disguised as a vagrant. He thought of selling, of walking away, of relief mixed with lifelong regret. Then he imagined this place alive again, not as it was, but as it could be. "What would you want?" the owner asked at last. The man considered the question carefully. "A chance," he said. "And honesty. No charity." The owner stood. His eyes were wet, though he did not notice until a tear fell onto the menu. He extended his hand, unsure of himself, unsure of the future, but certain of this moment. "Then stay," he said. "Not as a guest, as a partner." The man took his hand. His grip was firm, familiar, human. Outside, The waiting crowd pressed closer, sensing change. Inside, the restaurant breathed in deeply, ready once more to serve, to struggle, to live.